Good morning. Today is Monday. It's Chav Beis Oder Sheni Tafshin Ayin Daled. We are in Teres Menachem Sefer Mamarim Tafshin Yud Aleph Tafshin Yud Beis. We're about to begin the Mamar of Achron Shal Pesach Tafshin Yud Beis Kimei Tzeischo Me'eretz Mitzrayim on page Reish Samach Beis. This Mamar is actually edited by the Rebbe. Unlike most of the Mamarim that we learned, which are unedited, they were said by the Rebbe and transcribed by the appropriate people charged with that privilege and responsibility. This Mamar was said by the Rebbe, transcribed by those individuals, and then given it to the Rebbe for editing. So it's authoritative. Well, they're all authoritative, but this is more authoritative than I guess the others because it's gone through the Rebbe's editing. Kimei Tzeischo Me'eretz Mitzrayim Aran Niflois. This is a verse from the prophet Micha. Achron Shal Pesach, the last day of Pesach, is connected to the future redemption. Right? This is not from the Haftarah of Achron Shal Pesach. It's a pasuk which talks about the future redemption, but I guess it's related to Achron Shal Pesach in the sense that Achron Shal Pesach is connected to the future redemption, right? And I believe the Haftarah of Achron Shal Pesach talks about the future redemption as well, but from a different section in the prophets, right? But nevertheless, there is this connection because this verse also refers to the same time period. So Kimei Tzeischo, like the days when you have gone out, Me'eretz Mitzrayim, from the land of Egypt, Ar'enu, I will show him niflo'os, wonders. It's a verse from Micha, the prophet Micha. As in the days when you went out from Egypt, I will show him wonders. We need to understand. The future redemption will be Nailis Harbe Yeser, much greater, much higher than the redemption from Egypt. It's obvious, right? The exile of Egypt followed. We had exiles that followed. The redemption of Egypt had exiles that followed. It wasn't complete because we still have issues up to this day. Whereas the future redemption will be total and the final one. And the Rebbe says, "Shalachein lefi das ben zoma." You know, in the Haggadah, we quote a Mishnah from Masechta Brachos, Tractate Brachos, that says concerning Shema, the reciting of the Shema, do we recite the third portion of the Shema at night as well? We have three portions that we recite in the Shema: Shema and V'ahavta, then V'hoyim Shemaya, and the last part is the Parsha of Tzitzis, right? Now, tzitzis, the mitzvah of tzitzis is during the day. Because it says in the pasuk, Ure'isem oisei, and you shall see them. You shall see the tzitzis. When can you see? During the day. So the mitzvah of tzitzis is during the day. Do we, therefore, say the third portion of Shema at night? Says the Mishnah, we do. Why? Because in that portion we also mention Yetzias Mitzrayim, the exodus from Egypt. And because of that, we say it also at night. So the Mishnah says, Maskirin Yetzias Mitzrayim Baleilos. We recite the exodus of Egypt at night. Omar Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. Said Rabbi Elazar the son of Azariah, Harei ani kiven shivim shana, I am like 70 years old. Famous Mishnah. Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah became the Nasi when he was 18, but he looked like he was 70. And I did not merit, I didn't win over the Chachamim to persuade them that Yetzias Mitzrayim should be said also at night. In other words, he held that Yetzias Mitzrayim needs to be said at night, the third portion of the Shema. The Chachamim held not. He says, I did not, even though I was like 70 years old, I was already the Nasi, the leader, nevertheless I couldn't persuade them. Until Ben Zoma came along and he darshaned and he deduced from the verse in the Torah, he defined the meaning of a verse in the Torah which indicates that you mention Yetzias Mitzrayim at night. Which verse is that? It says in the verse, Laman Tisker Yom Tzeischo Meretz Mitzrayim Kol Yemei Chayecha, so that you should remember the day you left Egypt, all the days of your life. All the days of your life you should remember the exodus of Egypt. So Ben Zoma said like this. We know in the Torah everything is accurate. Ben Zoma seems to feel that there's an extra word in this pasuk. What's the koil? All the days of your life. What would be wrong if it would say you should remember the Yetzias Mitzrayim always, or all, so long as you live. What's koil? Seems to be an emphasis koil all the days. What's this emphasis on all? So he says Yemei Chayecha is a reference to the day time that you mentioned Yetzias Mitzrayim. Koil Yemei Chayecha. The emphasis of koil is to also what? Emphasize the night time. And the Chachamim say no. Yemei Chayecha is Olam Hazeh, means in our time. Koil Yemei Chayecha comes to say that even when Mashiach comes, the Havah the Beis Mashiach, that even when Mashiach comes, we will also mention Yetzias Mitzrayim. But once Ben Zoma defined this verse in this way, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah's position that you should say Yetzias Mitzrayim also at night was ratified, and he won. Okay? So this is what the Rebbe says. Shelachein, therefore, in other words, the question is, the future redemption will be much greater than the redemption of Egypt. Shelachein, therefore, Lefidas Ben Zoma, according to the opinion of Ben Zoma in the Mishnah that we just mentioned, Ein Maskirin Yetzias Mitzrayim b'Meis HaMashiach. We will not mention Yetzias Mitzrayim when Mashiach will come. Only according to whose opinion do we mention Yetzias Mitzrayim when Mashiach comes? According to the Chachamim. Why indeed does Ben Zoma say that we don't mention it in the time to come? Because it's superfluous. It's insignificant. It's meaningless. You will have such a powerful redemption as the future redemption. What's the point of mentioning the Exodus from Egypt? So that proves that according to that, we have proof from Ben Zoma's opinion that the future redemption will be much greater than the redemption from Egypt. The Gamla das Chachamim, and even according to the opinion of Chachamim that we just mentioned, Shemaskirim Yetzias Mitzrayim b'Meis HaMashiach, that we do still indeed mention Yetzias Mitzrayim even when Mashiach comes. Why? Lefi sheyesh ma'ila b'Yetzias Mitzrayim gam l'gabi ha'geula hasidah, because there is a quality that is contained within the Exodus of Egypt over and above the future Exodus, in the sense that it's the first, right? And if it's the first, it's always the most difficult. Nevertheless, says the Rebbe, Hageula Yetzias Mitzrayim tiyat tefela legeula hasidah. The redemption of Egypt that we will mention when Mashiach comes will be secondary to the future redemption, as the Talmud says over there in Brachas. Because Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, Ben Zoma, the Gemara says there that Ben Zoma turned to the Chachamim and said, how can you say that we will mention the Exodus of Egypt when Mashiach will come? And he brings proofs from certain verses that it seems that we won't. So the Chachamim interpret it doesn't mean that we won't. It means that it will be secondary. So even according, what's the bottom line though? That even according to the Chachamim, that we do mention the Exodus of Egypt when Mashiach will come in the future redemption, they also hold that it'll be secondary. So according to everybody's opinion, the future redemption is much greater than what? Than the redemption from Egypt. Therefore, we go back to the original question, why does the verse say, I will show you wonders like the days when you left Egypt? It shouldn't be like the days you left Egypt, it's much greater. Therefore, why does the verse say, Kimei Tzeischo, like the days you left Me'eretz Mitzrayim, the land of Egypt, Ar enu niflois, I will show him wonders, which seems to indicate that the special quality of the future redemption is that also then there will be the showing of wonders like it was when we left Egypt, when the Jews left Egypt. It would seem to be more appropriate to say that it'll be greater than when we left Egypt. We also need to understand that the verse, the prophet chooses the word Ar enu niflois. I will show him wonders. What does it mean, I will show him? It seems to indicate that the main quality, the main emphasis of the special quality of the future redemption is not in the wonders themselves. That will be then. It seems to emphasize that the special quality, the greatness of the future redemption is that Hashem will show the wonders rather than the wonders themselves. Yes, there will be wonders, but the emphasis seems to be, I will show you wonders. What's the emphasis that I will show you? What's the emphasis on showing the wonders? We also need to understand, the fact that he chooses the word Arenu, I will show him, it's in the third person. It seems to not flow with the flow of the verse. In the beginning of the verse it says Kimei Tzeischo, like the days you left Egypt. Lashon Noichach, in the first person. And if grammatically it should have said Kimei Tzeischo Ar'eka Niflois, I will show you wonders. Why does it say like the days you left Egypt I will show him wonders? Doesn't seem to flow grammatically. The Zohar says that Ar'enu refers to Moshe. That like the days you left Egypt, I will show wonders to Moshe. And when the Zohar actually touches on this and says that the reason why it says Ar'enu in the third person is Ar'enu koyal Moshe, because Ar'enu is a reference to Moshe. It refers to Moshe, to Moses. That like the days you, the Jewish people, left Egypt, I will show wonders to Moses. Says the Rebbe Tzorich Biur HaKesher. Okay, that explains the grammar, but we need to understand the connection. The Pirush Zeh of this explanation, Ima Pirush HaPoshut, Ima Pirush Kipshuti, with the simple explanation, the simple meaning of the pasuk, Sharenu Koyal Yisrael. In the simple meaning, it seems to indicate, the verse seems to indicate that Ar'enu is a reference to the Jewish people. In that sense, we have a problem grammatically why it begins to say Tzeischo, speaking to the Jewish people in the first person, and then switching over to the third person. So we need to understand the connection between that and the Zohar's interpretation that Ar'enu refers to whom? To Moses. These are the three questions that the Rebbe asks. We'll just make a start. The point of the explanation is the benisim yesh mechlal l'shnei sugim. Generally, concerning miracles, there are generally two types. Nisim shelamayla mahateva, miracles that are beyond nature. Kehanisim d'shayu b'tzias mitzrayim, like the miracles that took place when the Jews left Egypt. For example, hafichas mayim ladam, the transformation of water into blood, b'chulu, etc. V'adlan nes the kriyas yamsuf shenepach yam le'abasha, all the way to the miracle of the splitting of the sea, that when Hashem transformed the sea into dry land. That's one type of miracle. Miracles that are what? Beyond nature. But Nisim, then there's another type of miracle. Nisim, but then there are miracles that are clothed in the ways of nature. Ubehem gufa, and in miracles that are clothed in the ways of nature, in them themselves, Shnei Afanim, there are two types of miracles that are clothed in nature. One type of miracle that's clothed in the garments of nature is that the garments of nature, it's obvious that they are merely a garment to a miracle. It's obvious that a miracle is taking place. It just has some kind of natural frame, as it were. For example, Kinisim de Chanukah Purim. For example, the miracles of Chanukah and Purim, where there were certain steps that were taken in the physical sense, which led to salvation, but it was obvious that it was miraculous. But it's still clothed in nature. These types of miracles, although they are clothed in the ways of nature, nevertheless, it was openly obvious, to the extent that all the ends of the earth also saw Hanes Shebahem, the miracle that is within these garments of nature. That's one type of miracle that's clothed in nature. Then there's another type of miracle that's clothed in the garments of nature, that the garments of nature conceal the miracle that is taking place and clothed within them. To such an extent, as the Rebbe is going to say in a minute, that the person is not even aware that a miracle is taking place. And now the Rebbe is going to explain where each of these types of miracles is rooted, and that a miracle that is not obvious, the more concealed the miracle is, the higher the source from where it comes. And Mr. Shem will continue tomorrow.